Hi, hello, and welcome back to another Skyblock video. My name is ohSauce, and today we will be talking about gears, tips, and tricks on how to beat floor 7 as a mage. One of the reasons why I'm making this video is because when I was switching to mage, I couldn't find a video that answered my questions, so I decided to make one that would help out any aspiring floor 7 players. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First off, we have gear. Here are 3 setups of 3 different price points that will all work to some degree on floor 7. This guide is assuming everything is 4 or 5 starred, at least growth 5, protection 5, and rejuvenate 5, and at least tier 5/3 or basic enchants, and at least hot potato booked. If you don't have enough money to afford these things, you really shouldn't be doing F7. Talismans are reforged to normal melee reforges for left click abilities as well as right click. And if you want a more in-depth guide on Talisman Reforges, go look at my damage vid in the top right corner. Okay, so for our first off, we have our cheap setup, and we have Golor's Boots, 2 Forts Necrolord, as in the leggings and the helmet, and a perfect tier 9 or tier 10 chestplate. Hot swapping to Bonzo Mask throughout the entire dungeon will be necessary, and no Wither/Shadow Goggles because those are DPS items that don't have as much health and EHP. Use Necrotic or Giant to suit your needs more specifically. As always, AOTE unless you have a Hyperion, and Zombie Sword are great, don't forget them. This goes for all the setups. And as for your weapon, you're going to want an Ultimate-wise Spirit Scepter and Voodoo Doll, heroic on both of those, or just one because Voodoo Doll isn't a weapon. And this set sacrifices on damage big time to lend EHP. You will most likely die unless you're lucky, but it's better than nothing. During testing, I found that anything lower than this is just completely unplayable, although this set is borderline unplayable. Turtle Pet is your pet because it's cheap and it gives some EHP. If you can somehow survive with legendary sheep, then use that. And this set comes in at 35 million coins. Yes, the cheap one is 35 million coins. To be honest, I wouldn't do F6 until you can afford the medium setup. Also, if you think that 35 million coins is expensive, please do not play mage, choose a different class. Next up, we have the medium setup. For the medium setup, you are going to want 1/4 Necrolord chestplate, because Wither chestplate and Storm chestplate still costs a bit too much, and Wither goggles. If you didn't already know, the Wither goggles are very, very good for damage, because as you can see, plus 70% damage to undead monsters, which is pretty much literally 70% damage boost. Swap to Bonzo Mask in stage 2 drop and back after the initial drop. If there's still a lot of mobs after the initial drop, you might want to keep it, and once the ability is used, then just switch back to the Wither goggles because there's no use for it. For your weapons, you're going to want an Ultimate-wise Midas Staff and Ice Spray, as well as a Voodoo Doll. And this is a good set that you can do F7 with, still dying semi-frequently from troubles in stage 2 of boss. For your pet, a legendary sheep pet is what you're going to want, and swap to Blue Whale in stages 1/2 and back to it again in stage 4. And this set, the medium set, comes in at about 275 million coins. So, a bit more expensive, but nowhere near expensive as our last set, which is our great set that is good for, you know, actually really trying at this game. And for that, we are going to have 3 Forts Storm Armor and Wither Goggles. Once again, swap to Bonzo Mask in stage 2 drop and back after the initial drop because after that you won't really need it. Also, you're going to want to get yourself one of these heroic Hyperions because, well, I mean, Hyperions are Hyperions, man. As well as an Ice Spray Wand, but that's an addition. People will take you even if you don't have one of them. It's just a good addition for every class, really. And then you're going to want to add max stuff if you want to achieve maximum sweat power. That is T6/T7 books, recombing, fuming, wisdom 5, that kind of stuff. And this is the kind of set that you see top mages running. Of course, they run much more maxed out sets than my set, but same base armor and weapon. For your pet, you're gonna want a legendary sheep pet and blue whale if not flying in a stage 2. Other than that, you can just use sheep the entire time. Sheep gives a lot of damage. You see, it's a plus 20% ability damage. It's just really, really good. However, this set comes in at about 750 million to 850 million coins due to market inconsistencies with pretty much Hyperion. Of course, the handle price will probably drop at some point, so it's gonna get a little bit lower if you're watching this a long time from now, but for the most part, it's the endgame set. Anyway, that is it for the gear. Now onto the tips and tricks section of this Floor 7 guide. Mastiff wishing is where you switch to Mastiff for a healer to wish, giving you tens of thousands of HP shield. Then, switch back to your normal health and you have a free health shield, often going up to 100,000 if you're a berserker, or more like 40,000 if you're just a mage or anything else that's not strength and crit damage based. Common times to do this are at the beginning of your run, before boss, and before stage 4. The one that I'd say is the most common is right before boss, because stage 2 is very, very mean. Flying is perhaps the best thing to happen to mages in Floor 7. Spam jump with tarantula boots when going into blood portal to get fly. It works for me about 2/3 of the time, and after you're flying you can switch back to your other boots. This is helpful for grabbing the 2 crystals in stage 1 so you don't have to do the parkour. If you are flying, as soon as you fall down into stage 2, fly up into the sky so that you do not die. Hey, that rhymed. Sky crushing is in S2 when you crush Necron while in the sky, flying in circles, usually in the middle of the pillar. It's the opposite of ground crushing, because in ground crushing you actually crush him like you're meant to, with like the bottom of the pillar on the ground. But because you can fly, you can do sky crushing. Sky crushing is better than ground crushing for the most part, because you can crush when the pillar is moving up, speeding up runs. When you are near a Necron and you're actually doing damage to him, don't stay super close to him, because then your left click mage beam won't do any damage. Oh, and if you aren't clicking with both, then what are you doing? Click with both. Left and right click with any weapon is still good. Oh, and if you have a Midas Staff or Yeti Sword, don't use it during anything where you attack Necron, because the archer is going to be able to do more damage than you, and their hit registration will be messed up if you use any of those 2 items. When standing on red, ready to fall into stage 3, have Spirit Leaps ready. If Necron zaps you, leap to someone that has already fallen so you don't die. And call numbers on S3 for each of the 4 zones, speeding up the process. So, if you didn't already know this, you can just fly over the gate and do zones in front of other zones, like before the gate drops. So you can just speed up your runs by having, as soon as the second gate drops, 3 and 4 is already done, and boom, you're already in stage 4. So, speeds up the runs. Your guided sheep acts like Super Boom, so it can destroy gates, speeding up runs. Just get used to clicking on the gates that you see that still have the Super Boom wall on them. It'll just speed it up by like 15 seconds even. In stage 4, wait for Necron to say ARG before attacking him when he's at the center, or else you will die, because he's in nuclear frenzy mode, and if you go near him, you will die. And yeah. With that out of the way, that's pretty much it for today's video. If you're looking for some other mage videos, I have a couple more for you. And with that out of the way, I have nothing more to say. See ya!